The royal marriage, James and Anna. Right, let's not beat around the bush, eh? Jesus didn't just have disciples and parables, he had a son. Name of James, sometimes goes by Josephus, if you're feeling fancy. And who's his missus, you ask? None other than Anna, a British princess. That's right, royalty, daughter of Arviragus, the old warrior king who stood up to the Romans like a proper Brit. And her cousin, only Caractacus, the guy who made the Romans wish they'd never crossed the channel. I mean, if anyone's the real King Arthur, it's Caractacus, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But Anna, now she was something else. Also called Anna the Prophetess, or, intriguingly, Anna of Avalon. You know, Avalon, like where all the legends swirl about like a good pint of cider. Her dad, Arviragus, was no slouch. He's a Celtic king, with some serious Silurian blood flowing through his veins, and the Romans had him on their radar, too. In British Christian law, Anna's a bit of a legend herself, often linked to Glastonbury, and we all know what Glastonbury's about, don't we? Mysterious as a stone circle, and just as ancient. But here's where it gets a bit more layered, like a good shepherd's pie. Bran the Blessed, guardian of the Grail, and now we get to Bran the Blessed, Anna's old man. High King of the Silures and a proper druid head honcho. Forget your average warlord, this bloke was so tall, he could have waded across the Irish Sea without even getting his sandals wet. Seriously, I wouldn't have bet against him at the pub quiz, eh? Now, Bran wasn't just about swinging swords and thumping Romans. No, he was the guy who welcomed Joseph of Arimathea to Britain, converted to Christianity himself. Bran's line became the first set of Grail guardians. Proper sacred stuff, this. And, when it came to marriage, Bran didn't go for some average tavern wench. No, he married Energius of Avalon. Fancy name, eh? Turns out she's got some serious bloodline, the blood of David in her veins, possibly even a cousin to Christ himself. Talk about shooting for the stars, eh? The Union, the second great fusion of the sacred Eastern line with the ancient British royal houses of the Druids. The first, of course, being the marriage of Anna and James, son of Jesus. And who knows, this bloodline could be tied to the House of Pendragon, Arthur's mom. Yup, it's all connected. Bran's in the Mabinogion, too, that Welsh myth book you've probably heard of. And Bran wasn't just any hero in these stories, he's tragic, like a proper Shakespearean figure. The poor lad's got a sacred head, which is said to protect Britain, buried at the Tower of London. Until Arthur dug it up thinking he'd be the one to save the day. Right, Arthur, bit presumptuous, don't you think? King Leir, royal ancestor of Anna, you know King Leir from the theatre, don't ya? That old fella screaming at the storm, looking all tragic. But let's not forget, this bloke's not just some mad king ranting at clouds. Nah, he's got a royal pedigree that links right back to Jesus himself. You see, Leir's family weren't just any run-of-the-mill royals. They traced their lineage back to Brutus of Troy, the guy who allegedly founded Britain after legging it from the fall of Troy. And here's the kicker, Brutus, according to Geoffrey of Monmouth, was a descendant of King David. Yup, that David. The one from the Bible. So, if Brutus is in the family tree, and Leir's a direct descendant, that makes Leir part of the holy bloodline, leading right to Jesus. Talk about highborn. Now, I know what you're thinking, how's that even possible? Well, this is where the old myths come into play. According to esoteric lore, after the fall of Jerusalem, the bloodline of David, and with it, the sacred link to Christ, was secreted away to Britain. And who better to carry the crown than Leir, a king in this divinely protected line? So, when Leir's standing there, bellowing about betrayal and family, he's not just dealing with political drama, he's wrestling with his divine legacy. No wonder things get a bit messy, eh? But Shakespeare didn't just pull this from thin air. You can almost feel the weight of that royal bloodline pressing down on Leir, the embodiment of both the ancient Davidic line and the spiritual heirs of Christ himself. So, next time you're watching King Leir or even just thinking about him, remember, this ain't just some mad old king. He's got the blood of Christ flowing through his veins. Makes the whole tragedy a bit deeper, doesn't it? Cymbeline and the Roman connection are Cymbeline, another king that Shakespeare had a right go at. Now, Cymbeline wasn't just a figment of the bard's imagination. He was a real British king, holding court around 9 to 40 AD. The Romans knew about him, too. Suetonius and Dio Cassius both mentioned the chap. He was the king of the Britons, just as the Roman Empire was tightening its grip. But hold on to your hats, here's the corker. Cymbeline, or Cunobelin, was the son of King Tachiovenus, who ruled the Catuvellauni tribe. His seat of power was at Camulodunum, modern-day Colchester. And here's the kicker, some esoteric historians, those clever buggers, link this very spot with Camelot. You heard me right, Camelot. But wait, it gets better. Cymbeline's court, not just your average bunch of drunken Romans and Brits. Oh no, divine guests rocked up here. Cymbeline ruled at the same time as Jesus and his son, James. And here's the real spanner in the works. Cymbeline was the one who arranged for Joseph of Arimathea and his mates to get safe passage to Britain. How about that for a bit of divine diplomacy, eh? Cymbeline's sons, Guiderius and Arviragus, they weren't just sitting there with their feet up. No, they were playing key roles in protecting early Christian missionaries. Imagine it, a right royal Grail operation under the nose of the Romans. And there's a reason why Shakespeare wrote a play in Cymbeline's name. He painted the king as a noble but complicated ruler, struggling with Roman pressures and internal treachery. Now, the play isn't overtly Christian, but if you look closely, there's something subtle in there. Resurrection, deception, divine justice, all those classic motifs we see in Christian mysticism and the Grail stories. Now, the play isn't overtly Christian, but if you look closely, there's something subtle in there. Resurrection, deception, divine justice, all those classic motifs we see in Christian mysticism and the Grail stories. So, there you have it, Cymbeline wasn't just some dusty old king in a forgotten history book. He might have been the original Grail keeper, guardian of the Holy Family, an ancestor to British kings claiming to be descended from Jesus himself. Cymbeline, my friend, not to be taken lightly. He's the cornerstone in the legend of sacred kingship. So the elite have known about the Jesus bloodline. Just ask Shakespeare, Francis Bacon or William Blake. And they hide it in our faces. In an episode of Who Do You Think You Are?, a genealogy show, they rolled back the family tree of Princess Anne's son-in-law, Mike Tyndall. They rolled the family tree scroll of Mike Tyndall all the way back to Jesus. Are you gobsmacked? So do you think British Christianity would have evolved differently if we all knew Jesus' blood flows in so many British veins? Let us all in Britain celebrate this hidden history chapter. Our genetics do matter, and from my perspective, that makes the whole damn country a bit more sacred.